My name is Deb Hoover, and I'm here today to talk with you about the Collegiate Entrepreneurship Ecosystem in Northeast Ohio. If you will recall, I've been with all of you before. I came to talk about the adult entrepreneurship ecosystem, and so we like to think of the collegiate piece as part of the whole ecosystem and as a pathway to adult entrepreneurship. So thank you for indulging me, and we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about all of the elements today that operate in Northeast Ohio around the collegiate entrepreneurship ecosystem. It includes a lot of programs at colleges and universities, internships, classes, and many experiential programs. We've devised this diagram, and you've seen something like this diagram when we talked about the adult ecosystem. This one's been adapted to include all of the elements that operate in Northeast Ohio as part of the collegiate entrepreneurship ecosystem. It's a lot of complex parts and pieces, and so we think that this diagram helps you understand what all those elements are and how they interact with each other for the good of the ecosystem and for the good of entrepreneurship in Northeast Ohio. The ecosystem includes not only individual schools and programs, but it also includes a number of networks that all operate to help students experience entrepreneurship. The first one we're going to talk about in a minute in more detail is the Jumpstart Higher Education Collaboration Council. That's a council that operates as part of Jumpstart, which is our venture development organization here in Northeast Ohio. We talked a bit about that the last time. Also, the Entrepreneurship Education Consortium. That's a consortium of 9 colleges and universities in the region. The Northeast Ohio Collegiate Entrepreneurship Program, that focuses on entrepreneurship on liberal arts college campuses. And then finally, the Blackstone LaunchPad Program, which is a relatively new program in Northeast Ohio that's operating on 4 campuses. So the Jumpstart Higher Education Collaboration Council is now about 3 years old. So Jumpstart, I know you've heard a lot about that in recent presentations. Jumpstart helps to develop ventures here in Northeast Ohio. It helps by providing services to startup companies and also by providing investment dollars. So the services help to strengthen the experience of the startup and to make sure that it is successful and it's accessing all of the resources here that we have in the region. So Jumpstart wanted to make sure that companies that are starting up on college and university campuses understand what all those resources are here in the region. And so we started the Higher Ed Council so that the people who are running the entrepreneurship programs on the collegiate campuses are able to access those resources at Jumpstart and help their students understand what is available. So one of the things that the council recently did was to have Dr. Daniel Eisenberg, who is part of the Babson Entrepreneurship Ecosystem. Babson College in Massachusetts has the #1 entrepreneurship collegiate program in the nation. And Dr. Eisenberg travels all over the globe talking about ecosystems. So he came here to share with us his observations from his global travels and to reflect on what we have accomplished here in Northeast Ohio. He's very, very interested in what is going on here and thinks that we have a very strong ecosystem here. So this is just one of the things that we do to help connect colleges and universities to the larger ecosystem. So another program that's been very important over the last 5 years is a partnership that my foundation that I operate, the Burton D. Morgan Foundation, entered into back in 2007 with the Ewing Marion Kauffman Foundation. And the Kauffman Foundation is it is the largest entrepreneurship funding organization in the nation. It also does a lot of research around entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship education. So they partnered with us to experiment on 5 liberal arts campuses, and you'll see the campuses listed here. We were trying to understand how on a liberal arts college campus you could spread entrepreneurship across the entire campus and make it an accessible program for students no matter what they're studying. So we are now in the concluding year of that grant, and we think that it's been really quite successful. All 5 colleges have thriving entrepreneurship programs, and so if you are ever interested in looking at entrepreneurship programs in the region, these would be five good schools to take a look at. And this program, it's partly based on the curriculum side and then partly based on the experiential side as well. So I just want to give you, on the next slide, a few examples of the kinds of things that have happened on these campuses as a result of the program. The program actually is called the Northeast Ohio Collegiate Entrepreneurship Program, NEOCEP for short. So Hiram College, which is a small liberal arts college here in Northeast Ohio, has really gone a long way towards giving their students an entrepreneurship experience through student-run ventures. So one of their ventures that's been operating for about 4 years now is the Olive Branch Fair Trade Store. And so students come in, and obviously they're different students each year, but they're learning how to access these products, how to market the products, how to market on campus. And it's been a really great experience for the students who've been involved. Another student-run venture is the Terrier Bakery, and that's actually come out of a class taught by a French professor who had a dream of running a bakery. And so she has her students learn how to bake bread, but at the same time they're learning the business side of operating a bakery. And you may have read about that. There's been a story in the paper about that. Another example is at Oberlin College, and this is a result of their Creativity and Leadership program. They have a 5th-year program, so students who are finishing up their educations can apply for a grant to help them start a company. So about 4 years ago, 3 young men who had an interest in Asian languages started a company called Inkren and developed a product called Skritter, which is an online subscription service for helping people practice Chinese and Japanese characters. So a company now 4 years old, started by 3 22-year-olds, and they've actually gotten follow-on funding, and they are off and running and very successful at this. So that's been an exciting story to follow. Another story on the next slide is from the College of Worcester, and it's ABS Materials. And this was actually a company that resulted from an accidental discovery in a chem lab. A chemistry professor and his students were experimenting with a silica-based product, and they discovered that this product was able to absorb contaminants. And so, it was just one of those big aha moments. And the next thing you know, an entrepreneur named Steve Spoonemore met this chemistry professor on an airplane and said, wow, that's a great idea. And so ABS Materials was born, and these students on the Worcester campus are able to help out, and they've had jobs there doing marketing and all sorts of things. So that's a very exciting story for Northeast Ohio. On the next slide, I want to share with you about the Blackstone program that I mentioned a few minutes ago. This is another partnership that the Burton D. Morgan Foundation has going with a foundation that's not based here in Northeast Ohio. It's the Blackstone Charitable Foundation out of New York City. So back in November of 2011, we had a big announcement about the program at Case Western Reserve University. It's a grant that totals $3.2 million going into these programs on the 4 campuses. So these are the 4 campuses: Baldwin-Wallace, Case Western, Kent State University, and Lorain County Community College. All together, these 4 campuses represent a total of 70,000 students who have access to these entrepreneurship services. Blackstone is part of a national network. The program was actually developed at the University of Miami in Florida. And so Blackstone Charitable Foundation is supporting the development of these programs on a number of campuses. And so you'll see the list here. So our 4 Northeast Ohio campuses are going to be able to network with these other colleges and universities across the country and share ideas and have access to specialized expertise. So it's a really interesting program. This one is all co-curricular, so that means it's more on the experiential side. The founders of Blackstone LaunchPad believe that learning about entrepreneurship is a really great thing, but to really internalize it and to really understand what the process is all about, you really need to experience it. So that's what this program is about. It's also available to students no matter what they're studying. It's always placed in a highly visible spot on the campus. And so students who may walk by and see this exciting office, see all these things going on, think, well, I have an idea, I'm going to explore this. And they go in and they register themselves, they register their business idea, they're connected with consultants, and then some students will be able to consult with community members who have special expertise, maybe in intellectual property, or marketing, or graphic arts, or whatever it is that they need to take their company to the next step. As an example, Kent State University, their Blackstone LaunchPad office is located right in the middle of their student center, so a very heavy traffic area. They've been open since late summer, and so in the first 3 months of operation, they had 204 student entrepreneurs register themselves, and among them they have 126 new ventures that are registered and going through the consulting process. So I think you can see here that the numbers of participants and the numbers of companies that we hope to be able to help through this program, I think it's going to be a very big number for Northeast Ohio, so it's very exciting. The point here is for all of you that I think that in Northeast Ohio we just have tremendous resources at the college level here. And so if entrepreneurship is a passion of yours, if you have an idea for a company, there are lots of resources here in Northeast Ohio. And I'm sure you've heard this before from other speakers, but truly Northeast Ohio has one of the strongest entrepreneurship ecosystems in the entire country. So I'm not sure that most people are aware of that, but it is in fact true. We also want to talk a bit about, once you've gone through a program, once you're well along in your major, you may have a business idea. There are lots of ways here for you to gain additional experience as you're making the transition from the college and university life, into your postgraduate years and into your career. So I mentioned the Entrepreneurship Education Consortium. That's an organization that offers an immersion program in the summer, so students who come together as part of a team, and they are able to, with consultants in the course of a very intense week, work on a business idea. And out of that program, a number of companies have actually started. Fresh Fork Markets here in Northeast Ohio is one of those companies. Entrepreneurs Edge, for students who are at the graduate level, Edge places places students in companies to pursue ideas that may be sitting on the shelf at a company, and then they're able to do the research and figure out how that company can commercialize and take that product to market. And then NOCHI provides connections for students to get internships in startup companies. We have about 50 internships each summer that students are able to access. And then finally, Launchtown is another one. Launchtown is mainly competition for graduate students, so students who are working at a higher level on more complex technical kinds of products are able to make their pitches, and the winners get a substantial award to move their company forward. So we talked about the consortium. So here are the members of the consortium. All of these colleges and universities are pooling their faculty. The faculty do this mainly on a volunteer basis. So it's a very big commitment, but it's been a really wonderful group to advance the entrepreneurial spirit here in the region. So this is an internship event that happened within the last year. So as I said, 50 startup internships during the summer. So the benefits of having all of this networking going on in the collegiate space means that our colleges and universities are sharing their resources with each other, and that's a huge thing. Usually you think of universities and colleges competing with each other, but here they're coming together and collaborating for the good of the students and the good of the region. So collaborating around business plan competitions, shared speaker events, faculty training, and so forth. So we have a very collaborative spirit here in Northeast Ohio. Just continuing along and talking a bit more about making that transition from college and university life, into the working world. We have a couple of programs and places that are really focusing on that transition, and one of them is Shaker Launch House in Shaker Heights. So it provides an accelerator and space for startups and a community of people to help support that startup activity. And then there's the beta space at Magnet. That's actually a space that the Burton D. Morgan Foundation helped to support. So the beta space at Magnet is really focused on the manufacturing space. And so helping students who have a product idea, need advice about how to commercialize it, how to go about the manufacturing process, they're able to connect with experts in this space and move their idea along. And then at Lorain County Community College, a number of resources that are open to others. Really a hotbed of entrepreneurship in our region. So they have the Innovation Fund, the Skritter program that I mentioned earlier. They were able to access funds through the Innovation Fund. The Fab Lab, where people are able to go and make prototypes. And there's also a Blackstone LaunchPad program operating on the Lorain campus, which will eventually be open to alumni. Just to sum up, I think you can tell I'm really enthusiastic about what we have going on here in Northeast Ohio. We are indeed very fortunate to have all of these resources. And so I just want to share that I was recently at a conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And the founder of the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship was at this conference. His name is Steve Mariotti. And he was giving a talk while he was there. And he mentioned that Northeast Ohio has one of the strongest entrepreneurship education ecosystems in the world. So I thought that that was a pretty strong statement about what we have going on here, and I wanted to share that with all of you. And I will leave it there, and I wish all of you great luck in figuring out what your passion is and where you want to take your careers and your education. So thanks for being with me.